Hi guys, welcome to day 9 of our remote learning packets. Today we're going to be talking about story elements. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how to use our story elements to make relevant annotations in a literary text. So let's keep going. In your packet, you have this anchor chart, and this anchor chart reviews the story elements with you. So let's go through step by step. The first part is the definition. The definition of a story elements are the pieces that make a story. Since we're reading short stories, it's really helpful to review these story elements because short stories are a complete plot in a very few amount of pages. So it's an awesome opportunity for us to review these story elements. So the definition of story elements is pieces that make a story. The first thing that we're going to be looking at in story elements is always the characters. So who are the main characters in the story? Setting is also an important element of the story pieces. There can be more than one setting. The problem is what we look at next. When we talk about problems, we usually use the word conflict. So we need to remember that conflict is a synonym for problem. Attempts to solve are those key events that we like to make sure that we annotate. Remember, the key events are the events that lead us from the problem to the solution or from the conflict to the resolution. Remember that a synonym for solution is resolution. So a story has to have all of these elements. And what's helpful is when we're reading these short stories, we get to see all of these elements within, 10 to 15 pages. So that's why reading short stories is so nice because you get the whole story in a little bit of time. Let's take a look at Two Dreamers. This is the first two paragraphs of Two Dreamers. If you want to follow along in your packet, go ahead. So we're going to go through and put in some relevant annotations. Remember, we're moving away from smiley faces or wow or random underlining and trying to only focus on the things that are relevant. And the things that are relevant are the story elements. So Hector's grandfather, Luis Molina, was born in the small town of Jalapa but left Mexico to come to the United States when he was in his late 20s. I see some characters in there, so I want to go ahead and annotate that. So the characters in this sentence are Hector, who is the main character, and then his grandfather, Luis Molina. Since I've annotated that characters, it's going to be helpful to me when I go and fill it in my graphic organizer. I'm underlining Jalapa, and then I'm also going to underlining the remainder of that sentence, but left Mexico to come to the United States. Many of you are going to be tempted to annotate that setting. However, I want you to think through this. Read the sentence again. Hector's grandfather, Luis Molina, was born in the small town of Jalapa, but left Mexico to come to the United States when he was in his late 20s. So this isn't providing us with setting, it's providing us with the background to Luis Molina's life. So you need to be cautious and say, is the story taking place in Jalapa? And it is not. So we are not going to annotate that. Often during quiet summer days he sat in his backyard and remembered his hometown, with its clip-clop of horse and donkey hoofs, its cleanliness and dusty twilights, the crickets and the night sky studded with stars. He also remembered his father, a barber, who enjoyed listening to his radio, and his mother, who wore flower print dresses and loved card games. But that was many years ago, in the land of childhood. Now he lived in Fresno. Ding, ding, ding. And here we have setting. So we need to make sure that we annotate that setting. Notice I haven't put any smiley faces in. Notice I haven't put any wows or I haven't randomly underlined details. We need to make sure that we're looking for those relevant annotations. Our annotations are supposed to lead to a deeper understanding. So we need to make them useful and relevant. Now we're going to go ahead and go on to the graphic organizer, which is what is due to me for today. So in your packet, you see a chart that looks just like this. Story elements chart. You need to go ahead and provide me the story elements of Two Dreamers. So I'm going to help you out and get started. In that little section, in the first two paragraphs, we were introduced to Hector. I put a dash there. I know that you're going to be able to fill in more information about Hector as you read the story. So Hector is the main character. Then we have Luis Molina, who is Hector's grandfather. We also know that he's from Mexico. So that's where you're going to put that information that I had underlined in red. It's information about a character. It's not information about setting. So I put in that he's from Mexico, where I'm describing his character. We also learned that the setting is in Fresno. We are going to be learning a little bit more about Fresno in the short story. So make sure you add more information about Fresno to this chart. You're on your own for the rest. I know that you can do it. And when you finish it up, go ahead and send me a picture. See that little camera moving forward? That little camera is going to signify that you need to send me a picture of the work that is in your packet. So make sure that you send me a picture via Remind, via email, on a text message. Any way you can get it to me, send me a picture of your work. All right, I hope you enjoyed Two Dreamers as much as I did. I think it's one of my favorite stories inside of Baseball in April. I'll talk to you later. Bye.